Hello and welcome to this episode of Pointcounterpoint. We are here to discuss and to carry on the whole narrative of what people in coastal South Goa are calling an absolute intrusion into their lives, their liberties and their homes by the Southwestern Railways, which is literally bulldozing its way through the terrain of coastal South Goa, let's say upper coastal South Goa, in their quest to carry out the double tracking of the Southwestern Railways at any point, basically in the areas from Majorda to Vasco, the villages of Kansauli-Pale-Issorcim, ROC, Mchikali and Vasco. These are the villages that are badly affected, but the whole narrative and the discussion is of course on the larger issue of double tracking itself through the territory of Goa, starting from Kule and right up to Vasco. But the point that we have come here with, and we've had several discussions, is this recent development where one has found that the Southwestern Railways has actually been carrying out its work of double tracking with no survey numbers in place. And recently, after a lot of pressure and a lot of noise by very committed people, the decision has been taken by the Revenue Department to do a survey across 25 villages to ascertain the actual survey numbers to authenticate the final ownership and the presence of the railways in those particular lands. So, to cut a long story short and to make it simple for our viewers, the bottom line here is that the Southwestern Railways have been carrying on this double tracking work in areas that they've been claiming to be theirs without the area actually being theirs. It is as ironic, as funny, only if it was not as tragic. Of course, this is just one of the many sad developments that have happened right from that fateful day in June 2020, when the Murmugao Deputy Collector and the competent authority in this case, he stated that about 103 survey numbers had been earmarked for acquisition for double tracking across 60,177 square meters of land. The saga started then, it is still not ended, but what has now happened is that the people there have said and have expressed themselves very loudly, are facing the brute force of a system which is systematically getting into their lives and their liberties, chopping trees, breaking boundary walls and carrying on this double tracking project in a manner that is absolutely baffling, primarily because the Supreme Court itself has expressed a doubt and question the need for this kind of a double tracking project and these linear projects in general. To discuss this and many other issues, I have with me a very esteemed and a very knowledgeable panel of people who are not just experts but who are a part of the agitating squad and have also been victims of what they call the state force. Some of them are in court fighting cases, some of them are accused and are running from pillar to post to defend themselves. This is what we've come to right now. I'll just introduce the panelists. My extreme right is FELIX FURTADO from Chandor. He of course belongs to one of the organizations fighting on this case, Goencho, a very prominent activist, and of course some of his organization members are also facing criminal cases and criminal action because of this. Next of course OLENCIO of the GRE, needs no introduction, one of the primary faces of the double tracking agitation there. Next to me is Advocate RADHARAO GRACIAS, of course again needs no introduction, but apart from he being a renowned learned advocate, also is a resident of Majorda with that railway line literally passing very close to his house. So he's also local sufferer, if I may say so. Ashok SOUZA, also a member of the GRE, one of the main part of the main agitating squad, as I would say, also a sufferer of sorts, with properties in Pale, and of course he himself is in Velsao. Before we begin this discussion, and I'll I'll comment shortly, I'd just like to point out that ideally there should have been a fifth table or a fifth chair there, with the representative of the Southwestern Railways or the RVNL, Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, there to answer these questions. And when we reached out to them yesterday, my colleague called them up, and the response was a very, very pithy and a very dismissive response with a statement which stated, "We don't participate in discussions." We spoke to their chief spokesperson, and these were his exact words, that we don't participate in discussions. Fair enough. Participating in this discussion would have enabled us to get their point of view, whatever that may be. We'll carry on the discussion, and now, since they did not participate, we would urge them to at least listen to this discussion and respond if they have to. I'll start with FELIX. FELIX, I don't have a specific question. I just like you to respond to some of these points, and then we'll take the discussion.
So, right in the beginning, we would say that double tracking is not required. We know why double tracking is being thrust on us. It is only to transport coal for corporates in Karnataka. No benefit to Goa.
Yes.
But the destruction is for Goa. Goa has been destroyed. Goan properties, Goan land, low-lying fields, lakes, rivulets, everything has been destroyed. And none of the Goan these departments who are supposed to protect all this have taken any action against the railways, in spite of several repetitive complaints.
Right.
So our grouse is why government is not protecting the people's properties, people's environment, and they just want to bulldoze through. Houses also, ancestral houses also are being destroyed. What nonsense is this?
Okay, Olens, I'll come straight to the main point that I had raised. With no survey numbers, the railways have set out to double track Goa's land. Now, what does it actually mean?
See, now if you see, the Department of Revenue have come up with a gadget on 26th May. Now, if you see, in the year 1968 to 71, the surveys were carried out in every village, and promulgation were done, and survey numbers were given to the respected landowners. How? By obviously showing their documentation. It's not just given simply.
Right.
But here they are saying the Southwestern Railway have possessed land, but is shown in the plan, but has no survey number. So they are saying, therefore, they have no right, right in the nature of Form D with respect to possession or occupation. So what are you trying to say, that this is a, you can say now, a tenant who is come here,
right,
and he is in possession,
right,
and now since he has no survey number, you are going to give him survey number. So what kind of
does it mean that SWR has no title documentation?
Absolutely, there is no title document. How you will give survey number?
Right.
If on possession, if you are going to give survey number, then there are so many instances which I can tell you.
Right.
Prior to 1961, there are people living along the coastal areas like Baina, like Khariwada, tribal communities, Dangal communities, who do not have ownership but have possession.
Right.
So then you give possession to them, give ownership to them also.
Right.
Why only the railway?
Right.
So here it is clear that malified intention of the government is gone to an extent that now they are going to give ownership also to the railway.
Right.
So why have these departments? You do whatever you want to.
Now the railways own council, PP Singh, apparently said that officers were entrusted to get these documents organized, but they failed to do so.
Absolutely, because they don't have any documents.
Right.
So the question of this gazette, how this gazette, on what basis it come, I don't know. I don't know what the government is up to. Government, which is the constitution, which protects our state, is the biggest violator of the state. They are helping RVNL to do unlimited violations. Right from the day one, they have started doing work. Till now, they have continuously doing work. No permission from the CRZ, no permission from the forest department, no permission at all. So they're blatantly violating every law, and the government is silently listening to them, and on top of that, helping them to carry this illegal activities in our villages.
Radha, how do you legally see this on this carrying on this entire work without survey numbers? Maybe they can do it and get it regularized later. But legally, do you think that this can be severely challenged and can be a big factor?
See, Sujoy, what happens now when, as far as land survey records are concerned, now there are public roads shown there, there are drains shown there, there are railways. They are not given numbers at all.
Right.
You will find that roads are simply shown as road,
right?
Because the law contemplates that these belong to the state. That which is not belonging to the private individuals belongs to the state.
Right.
So the railway line is shown.
Right.
There's no doubt about that in the survey plan.
Right.
And I know that at least as far as Majorda was concerned, in the 1870s, land was acquired because I have seen my own family document where part of our property, which is still there at Majorda railway station side, was acquired. So it was acquired. Now, see, in survey plan, there will never be a number for the railway line or the roads. If you look in the village plan, the roads don't have numbers. But the areas are shown, the width and the dimensions. So therefore, the railways can easily, with reference to the plan, identify the extent of their land. But I don't think that is going to sort out our problem, because it looks like our main issue now is that we do not want the railways extra line at all. So are we saying that if the land is there, you build a railway? No. So we say we don't want for various other reasons.
Right.
As Felix had just said, for various reasons, we don't want a second track. Therefore, irrespective of whether they acquire the land or not, if we are opposing the railway line per se, we have to oppose it on grounds that it is causing various other problems.
Right.
Now, you see, as you have said, I live within half a kilometer of the railway line.
Right.
We are today, the government has come up with that sound notification.
Right.
Any wedding or anything beyond 10 o'clock, they come and stop. If you come and live anywhere in our coastal villages, next to even a kilometer away from the railway track, when the trains come daytime, particularly at night time, the noise they make as they roll over, or from somehow they come up with a very quirky sound, horn or whatever it is, that will raise the dead men from the graves.
Right.
Now why is the pollution law sound pollution not applicable to them? Why don't you stop them from making those noise?
Right.
If people want to hold weddings, you stop them. 5 minutes late, someone will come and stop your. See, the whole problem is the government is least bothered with the citizens' rights, whether for noise pollution or whether for coal pollution. See, somehow or the other, the governments do not react at all, because in Goa the system has been such. I have myself grown up now. I have become a senior citizen now, agitating all my life. I don't remember too many agitations in which I was not actively involved. I may have slowed down now.
Right.
But and every time the government uses its force, government uses massive police force, the courts, everything to suppress it.
Right.
And this has become the trend.
The other thing, unfortunately, that we've seen especially happening in ROC and Velsao is that over a period of time, as time goes on, the people are feeling that the railways are getting more and more blasé and absolutely open about their idea or their decision to carry out this irrespective of any kind of opposition that takes place. So the point is now, what people are saying is, look, people have a right to protest, people have a right to agitate. But the backlash that is coming now, whether it is coming in the form of bulldozers or whether it's coming in the form of their land getting encroached or boundary walls being broken or criminal cases being filed, what is happening is that rather than getting into a solution, it seems that the state, and I would say the railways represents the state versus people's battle is no longer a dialogue. It has become a very deep conflict leading to skirmishes and even violence.
See, what happens to Sujoy, my experience here is, we are essentially a fractured society.
Right.
If there is some problem in your area,
yes,
someone from the other area will not even bother. They will say,
correct.
Now I will give one example. When we were agitating against the Mopa airport,
right,
when people went to Mopa,
right,
the local people gathered and attacked them. Some people had to return home under police protection.
That's correct.
Now what happened? Now more recently, after the airport was being built,
right,
lot of people from Mopa got together, started fighting, saying that their land is going for the road, that highway.
That's right.
Now, these are the very people who are attacking us, man, when we were saying don't take the airport there.
Correct.
This is what is happening. We never react as Goans. We have always reacted piecemeal.
Right.
You let him go to hell.
Right.
When I am under attack, I come out and defend. But if someone else, we don't. This is the unfortunate part. And all governments know this, and all governments have been taking advantage, playing one against the other.
Radha, do you feel that even in this double tracking agitation, you feel that though it is very intense and we are all seeing a very strong people's movement, but it is still isolated amongst groups of people largely in South Goa,
Yes.
with and it yet has not got this all Goa, pan Goa people's support?
No, it is not just only largely in South Goa. It is mostly along the affected villages of South Goa.
That's right.
South Goa is quite big.
Correct.
People beyond
That's right.
these villages are not coming out to
Correct.
agitation.
Correct.
And it has always been so. Every issue,
Yeah.
was always affected areas and contingent areas used to come and fight.
Right.
Otherwise, people do not. Now, what I will say, Sujoy, is essentially we have a system where we have the judiciary,
Right.
we have the executive and the legislature.
Right.
Now, the constitution contemplates
Right.
that the executive will use excessive force.
Right.
It contemplates that it will act arbitrarily. All these things are contemplated.
Right.
And therefore, we have a judiciary in place.
Right.
I am sorry to say,
Right.
I have through my experience as a lawyer and as a citizen, that the courts nowadays have become very reluctant to
Right.
intervene on behalf of the citizens.
Why so?
No, I am coming to that.
Right.
Have become very reluctant to intervene on behalf. And when that happens, the executive knows that no matter what they do,
Right.
we have no redressal.
Right.
And that is why these things are happening.
Right.
Now, why the courts have become like this,
Right.
my impression is,
Right.
that the courts normally blow with the wind. Which now we have a far right government. So the tendency is far right. I remember during the emergency, when the Supreme Court overruled so many high courts and held that even the life to liberty is not there for people. You see, this is what happened at the highest level.
Correct.
So sadly, the courts themselves also tend to be blowing with the wind. Instead of standing up and saying, no, these are the citizens, right? This is what ought to, if that were to be done, citizens did not have agitated in such an aggressive manner. That is my feeling.
Okay. Ashok, a quick focus on the PIL which is before the High Court. Currently, the GRE and I think one more, the GE and the GRE, they moved PIL in the High Court.
We also had moved we is me along with the other
Yes.
co-owners.
Yes, so I'm specifically talking about the latest PIL which is in the High Court, which is going to come up on 26 June, which essentially talks about, and anybody is free to answer this, but I'm just raising it to you.
Yeah.
The basic plea in the High Court is that the railways have not taken any environmental clearances and their actions are completely arbitrary. Okay. Now the main plea is that ECs have not been taken. Now, if I jog my memory right, is it suffice to say there was no public hearing at all as far as the double tracking is concerned? Well, I'll come to you later.
No. The public
There was
hearing.
no EC taken. There was no proper public hearing done.
No.
Okay.
No public hearing.
Okay.
And they didn't contact us. In fact, when I asked the railways what is the actual area is required by railways, they are not able to give the right answer.
Okay.
Sometimes they say 5 square meters, sometimes they could say 100, sometimes 200. They don't know what they want.
Right. But currently, do you feel that the only way to challenge the railways is through the legal route right now? Because the state or the state machinery or the elected government.
Yes.
The point is, do you have faith in the elected government for intervening, or do you feel that the court is the only answer?
I have no faith in the elected government because CM was brought to the site.
Yes.
Then your Mr. Kabrar,
Yes.
he had come to the site. All the important people had come to the site, but nothing they have done. Then again, Supreme Court has passed the order saying that railway second rail is not required in Goa. still yet they are doing nothing about it.
Right.
So once Mole they have stopped.
Yes.
And then is it going to fly over Mole and then come to these places?
Correct.
It has got this
Correct.
propeller or something.
Correct. Sir, if we could just highlight a little bit on the PIL file before the High Court, and what are the legal challenges that you all are mounting? Right?
Yeah, see, actually, in the past, WRT had come up with a report that is on 28 Jan 2022, where they had said clearly that the floodplains have been blocked and in violation of Section 75 of the Irrigation Act 1973. Subsequent to that,
WRT came up with this report.
yeah. So,
when was this?
This is in 28 Jan 2022.
Okay.
Now, subsequent to that, this point which was in Velsao, there was an inspection done by GCDMA on 28 Jan 24th April 23, where they have clearly said that land filling is not permissible in CRZ 3 areas. Now, the railway is, besides this, there are several other illegalities which I don't want to go to. Like one is that initially in 2008 they had come with acquisition.
Right.
Then in subsequently 2019 they came with acquisition under the Right to Fair Compensation Transmission and Regulation Act.
Correct.
Then subsequent to that in 20 they came with this Railway Act.
That's right. Yes.
3 different acts were used to acquire
Correct.
this particular land area.
That's right. Correct. Yes.
So now, after going to every authority, highlighting the issue in every authority, I am sad to tell you that none of the authority could even act because they itself agreed that they are under pressure. Every authority agreed it,
Right.
from police to all the departments.
Right.
So this is the sad part, and then therefore we had no option to go to the High Court challenging the Section 11 also, the Environmental Protection Act,
Right.
where permissions are necessary to take.
Right.
How can railway supersede the Environment Act?
Right.
When you say the fundamental duty is to protect the environment, one of the fundamental duty is to protect the environment. Another side, there is railway is blatantly violating all the rules and regulations.
No, the railway's
and laws.
contention is under the Railway Act. They are not duty bound to take any clearance.
That is subject to
emergency. That is only an emergency.
subject to discretion. But what they are saying, what they can say, and what we have to believe. See, the state government have to look at the interest of the state first.
Right.
Now, besides the railway track at present, right, from if you say, at least I can tell you from ROC to Pale, there are these water bodies.
Right.
And the railway has filled all the water bodies.
Okay.
Now
With debris.
With debris and sand, they made road, everything.
Right.
Now, you tell me, if there is a disaster, what is going to happen? Who is going to be responsible? Someone's house is destroyed, someone's livelihood is gone, someone dies tomorrow. State will say, no, this act supersedes all acts, therefore we can't do anything. So you mean to say the state is incompetent? Are we in the union territory or we are in the state? So somewhere or another, government also is manipulating the citizens, saying that this is a central project.
But you are also confirming that EC was not taken on.
No, there is no any permission. Nor even the acquisition is complete.
Right.
Without anything, without any NOCs or procedure, nothing is been done, and full swing. Blatantly, the railway is doing their work by using police.
Yeah, I was
force.
coming to you, Radha. Just a quick question, then you can do. My question is: can a Railway Act supersede other existing acts, including permissions that need to take under the Environment Protection?
See what happens, the Environment Act, whatever laws are there,
Yes.
they supersede everything else.
Right.
These are the latest laws. They have
Right.
been brought in consonant with
Right.
the world demands
Right.
that ecology and environment has to be protected.
Right.
So the Ecological Act or the Environment Act supersedes everything.
Right.
And it is in this context that
Yes.
the Supreme Court
Yes.
has passed an order, which I have not read,
Right.
which is reported in the papers,
Right.
stopping the construction of the railways through the protected Western Ghats.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So if railways were supreme,
Right.
why would the Supreme Court pass such an order?
That's a very
it
important
wouldn't
point.
be
Correct.
there.
Yes.
Therefore,
Right.
what the railways tell it is for local consumption.
Right.
See, they take advantage of ordinary folks
Right.
and tell them that this is the position.
Right.
There cannot be any law which supersedes the constitution,
Correct.
which
Correct.
supersedes the rights of the people.
Correct.
But then this is the sort of rubbish we are told.
Right.
Now, you are talking of public inquiry.
Yes.
You give me any one instance of a public inquiry in Goa which has concluded in favor of the public. These
Right.
public inquiries are nothing but eyewashes.
Right.
I have been part of so many, OZA commission, this commission.
Right.
Everything is predetermined.
Right.
Inquiries are held only to satisfy the public.
Right.
Nothing will come out of public inquiries. Followed.
Right.
Now here the government is determined to push the railways through.
Right.
And once they are determined, they do it come hell or heaven.
Right.
Now, I think for us, this coal problem, a solution may not be found in India. But it does look like, going through, I've been reading, that such a solution may come in Queensland, Australia. Because Adani imports coal from there.
Correct.
And there is quite an agitation and
That's right.
fine there.
Correct.
If they stop Adani mines there,
Correct.
then Adani himself will say, we don't want the railways here. Hopefully they will do so.
Correct. Also, I'll come to Felix. Just one quick point, if you can answer. I think we should also go back to the manner in which the land acquisition cases were completely disposed of. See, the thing is, I recall when the objections were made, COVID had fallen at that point of time, during the COVID period. And apparently right in the middle of COVID, when the lockdown probably had all started, all these objections were disposed of in a matter of 24 hours. And then an order came saying that all objections have been listened to and disposed. Can you take us a little through that also, so that people are refreshed?
As I said in the past, see, in 2009, there was a notification and they had planned to acquire land under the Land Acquisition Act 1894.
Right.
Subsequent to that, under the Right to Fair Compensation Act in 2019,
Right.
there were notices served to the owners.
Right.
And under that act, you have to take the consent of the owner.
Right.
So when all the owners objected to the consent and gave their objection, then we had a hearing with respect to that also.
Right.
So they are trying to settle us. So when the landowner said no means no, then they evoked the 1989 Act.
Right.
This is like a joke. When 2013 Act is there, how can you supersede 2013 and go back to 1989? Then here this Act, when people had drafted objections with respect to the pollution, with respect to how their houses are getting cracked, coal pollution, how the yield of the crop also is been going down, coconut plantation yield is going down, fields are getting spoiled, water bodies are getting destroyed. Still, the collector, that is the land acquisition officer, did not listen to any of these grievances and just gave order in favor of the RVNL.
Right.
So, although that now we have challenged that, some of the parties have gone ahead and challenged that in the court, but the entire process of consultation is been, as Dr. said, is the fuss. Because if the objections are taken into consideration, then I don't think the railway will have come in per se. But now here the government, like Ashok also said, all the top leaders came to the village. First, initially, first Pramod Sawant said that no, if Supreme Court gives the order, we'll abide by it. I remember Manohar Parrikar, when he had come in Kasauli, he promised that why we require double railway line, for what, for who? And we'll see that double railway line will not be allowed.
That's right, correct.
Now this government which talks about taking his legacy ahead, he is the one who is destroying his own legacy and his own promise given to the people of Kasauli ROC. So therefore the government has to understand that people's voices has to be taken into consideration. They have already got lesson in Karnataka. So now it's time the government has to step back and listen, and we are also saying that who benefits with this coal expansion?
Correct.
Why Goa? Why use Goa when Supreme Court has clearly said you go use Krishnapatnam port? And this existing line also is underutilized as per the Supreme Court. So when the underutilized line is still not fully utilized, why the double railway line, for who and for what?
Right. Felix, you wanted to say something. Yes.
No, about this permissions being taken from different bodies, different departments.
Right.
We had filed a PIL.
You as in GKN?
On behalf of Gaon Bhavansa Ekvott, local NGO from Chandor.
Okay.
So, in that, the judge has only taken one point, that section 11 of Railways Act, saying that permissions are not required to, but section 11 doesn't say that permission need not be taken, neither it says permission will be taken. But later on, so many other regulations and acts have come.
Right.
Those are actually applicable to them, and railways had already taken permission from National Wildlife Board through the Mole Sanctuary, and which was rejected by Supreme Court. That means they require to be taken permissions.
Yeah,
Joy, you see, the whole issue is once you see the railway is supposed to connect Marmugao Harbour to the hinterland. Now hinterland starts from this Kotigaon sanctuary. Not Kotigaon. What sanctuary is that? wildlife sanctuary, Mole.
Mole.
Yeah, in that wildlife sanctuary.
Bhagwan Mahavir.
From Mole
Mahavir.
up to the Western Ghats and beyond. The railway line from Murmugaon to Mole doesn't serve any purpose.
Right.
It serves a purpose from Mole up the Ghats and beyond into India.
Correct. Yes.
Now, if that itself is stopped,
Ah.
where the question of starting this road, I mean, let that first be approved.
Yeah.
If the Supreme Court has stopped you from constructing through the protected areas of the Western Ghats,
Yes.
why are you making a double track here? For what purpose?
Correct.
Does it serve any purpose?
Correct.
Will your double track train go and stop at Mole and then take the single track up? If that is so, assume if that is so, why do you need double tracking, let's say from Majorda to Velsao? Because my own personal experience is that unlike say Majorda or Chandor or Margam or even what you call Sarauli,
Right.
the houses in Velsao and Kasauli are hugging the track.
That's
it has
correct.
always been so.
That's correct.
Which is not the case in my village, for
yes,
instance.
that's true.
You see, when the railways were built in 1875,
Ah.
there were not, except in Velsao and Kasauli, there were no houses close to the tracks.
Right.
Now people have built. Now people have chosen to build, that is a headache.
Correct.
But in these areas, Kasauli and Velsao area, if you can do without double tracking from Mole, you could build a double track if worst comes to worst up to say Uttarda.
Right.
And then use a single track man from there.
Right.
Why you trouble those people?
Right.
Essentially from Uttarda to Daboli or right up the Velsao slope before Daboli.
Pale-Issorcim, that bit.
Yes.
Yes.
You make for these two villages you maintain single track.
Right.
And then do it double tracking because they are already not doing it up the hills.
Correct. No, actually, this that of course is another subject which we can go into some other day. The whole need to double track, the whole need to expand the coal capacity on those berths. That's again another subject. I'd like to start bringing another aspect of this whole issue, and I'll start with you, Ashok. You see, now what has happened is on that fateful night of November 1st, 2nd at Chandor, when people were protesting and doing
Yes.
a peaceful candlelit march.
Yeah, I was
and
there.
I remember that people from all walks of life, all
Yes.
age groups, all political dispensations also.
Yeah,
by
all
and
the
large,
MLAs.
They were all there, and there was a big movement there. And if I'm not mistaken, the deputy collector had ordered a section 144 and no, not 144 was not there. The closure was announced in the sense
Yeah.
that on that particular day there was every right given to the people to go and protest. There was no impediment to protest on that day. That's what
Yeah,
people say.
we have even crossed walking.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and the protests were happening late at night.
Yeah.
And after those protests, there were people picked up and cases
Yes.
were filed against many activists.
Yeah,
and
which
others.
is not correct.
Apparently on the grounds of damaging public property and
Yeah,
obstructing public property or not allowing trains to
Stopping
move
the
and
train.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There were, I mean, large number of cases.
That day they were supposed to start the work,
Yes.
which they didn't start because of us.
correct.
I mean, this.
That's correct.
And the train was not supposed to move that day.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. The protests were basically against
Yeah.
the order or information
Yes,
that
order-
double tracking
double
would start.
tracking,
The
yes.
large-scale protests were against.
Yeah.
it. Now, Radha, since you're aware of this, what exactly are the nature of these cases against these activists?
See, these are standard cases filed throughout
Right.
all agitation. You see, they take 25, 30 people
Right.
and join them in a case.
Right.
Now that itself becomes punishment because they never can find all the 30.
Right.
So you go to the court,
Right.
out of 30, 24 come one day,
Right.
next day 27, next day, and no trial starts unless charge is framed.
Right.
So the cases go on being adjourned,
Right.
and that is greater punishment to the activists than a trial.
The
then.
process is the punishment.
Process is the punishment.
Right.
Now what happens now? They said that these people had to stop the train.
Right.
Now Sujoy, I have been a railwayman in the sense that all my younger days we used to travel by railway,
Right.
Majorda. And I remember that every bogie had this to stop train pull chain.
Right.
Now here these people have stopped the train without pulling a chain, man.
correct.
Where is offense? If you are stopping it.
Yes.
Correct. True. No, I know that. But the point is the nature. But now, as you said, as RADHARAO just said, is that the process is the punishment.
Exactly.
Now, let's tell me. Apart from this, recently, of course, there are activists in Velsao and Kasauli also. I think you are one of the affected parties as well, where cases were filed against you and others. Can you take us a little through that process and what happened, and the fact that apparently, you know, even y'all were a little worried and had to apply, think of applying for anticipatory bail. Tell us what went through your minds during that time and what really happened.
No, this we and if see this is not a new thing for us.
Right.
But here today, what a protector is a criminal and criminal is a free bird in the system. But if you see the way the cases have been filed, just doctored, even if Felix is sleeping at home, he's put in that case.
Right.
So without any kind of inquiry or any kind of submission, they have just because of pressure, they have put their names. Na naam ka pressure gatle section. So this is something wrong. See, we are talking about protecting our constitution. We are talking about fundamental rights which this government has given us, which the constitution has given us.
Right.
And I feel if the government itself blatantly violate this, then
Right.
I think somewhere or another we are in a serious threat, not only in terms of destruction, but the entire state of Goa
Right.
will go for a toss, because one side global warming is a biggest phenomenon that saying the scientists are saying that we are exceeding 1 degree centigrade. Lot of by 2050, lot of cities in Goa itself are going to get submerged underwater.
Right.
So if government does not take have lopsided development and does not promote sustainable development, then somewhere or another I think the state will suffer as large. And this activist so-called which the government treat as enemy, I think somewhere that perception should go, because there are other countries in the world where activist NGOs are given the responsibility of environment ministry, because so severe the environment is. So now the government here has to think twice and tell the people of Goa that we are raising this from 2015. It's not a small thing. I think in the past also government were there, but they were not so harsh.
Without
But
getting
here,
into, yes.
here they are not ready to listen to any voice, not even court order, not even people's voice. This is something wrong.
Without getting into the actual merits of this case, that of course the law will take its course, as they say, as the cliche is.
Yeah.
But in the ROC and in the Velsao case, what really was the issue? Apparently, you all supposedly broke some JCB.
No, apparently there was some stone pelting which took place against one JCB,
Right.
which was which was dumping debris in the Point,
Right.
that is the Point, and blocking the water flow to the Arabian Sea and River Sal subsequently.
Correct, okay.
So there were some probably some agitated villagers and based on a complaint of RVNL,
Right.
the police immediately files FIR.
Right.
Now we have given so many complaints to the police,
Right.
from the Panchayat issued stop work notice, right from the certain landowners that the railway is breached into their land,
Right.
doing illegal activities,
Right.
but their FIR is not registered.
Right.
But here FIR is registered immediately.
Now, since Southwestern Railways is not here, I'll just go from an old document and an article that we had done, essentially highlighting what the Southwestern Railway viewpoint is, and then I need to say this because there's nobody from the SWR for you all to react to each of these. So these were the justifications given by SWR for all their activities that they've done. I think this was essentially, there was I think some officials had gone to the track at that point of time, and they had faced the people, and they had firstly said that this whole project is in public interest. And these are the various points that they had mentioned. Point number 1, they said that the quantity of coal transported is actually declining, number 1. Point number 2, they said that the existing rail network is constrained due to a single line long ghat section. Point number 3, the project will lead to more passenger trains. I'm laughing as I read this. Okay. Then third, no environmental damage will be caused because we are doubling this on railway land. Okay, so these are the 4 or 5 basic points. So I'll start with Ashok, and any of you could respond to any of these points.
I would like to speak on this.
Okay.
The issue is here. I remember initially when the railway, when the RVNL guys to come on the track.
Yes.
No, this is for passenger.
Right.
This is for tourism.
Right.
When we say no, this is not for coal. No, this is not for coal at all. They used to blatantly lie.
Right.
And all this while we were telling no, this is for coal. Finally, they accept.
Right.
When the Vasco railway station is shut now.
Right.
Now they are saying that this is for coal. So because initially the expansion plan in the port,
Right.
and now when the JSW has got coal expansion plan,
Correct.
In their EIA report itself in 2016, they had mentioned that they require double railway line to transport this coal.
Right.
So it was from then only very clear that this double railway line is exclusively for coal and not for public purpose but for private purpose.
Correct.
So why a private owner should give a land for private profit?
Correct.
So all this what they have said is from right from start they have been lying. From MPT now to MPA, from their EIA reports till as of today, all the reports are very clearly said. In fact, Sagarmala volume 5 and EDCON report have clearly said that this so and so coal, 50 million metric ton of coal will be brought in Goa. Rail, road, rivers are required to transport coal. This everything clearly said.
Okay.
So now the railway cannot lie to us, nor the government can lie to us.
Felix, your
So this is what we are saying. When they are claiming that the coal transportation will reduce,
right.
you can see parallelly what is happening. They are increasing the coal handling activity at the port.
Both the ports.
At the ports.
Five
Yeah.
and 5A.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
So there is a big contradiction here.
Correct.
See, Sujoy,
yes, sir.
what happens now? Now we are sitting here in our AC.
Right.
Now, none of us can now live for an hour without electric power. That
Correct.
much is a fact now.
That's correct. Yes.
Nothing works.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, where do we get our power from? We get our power from the national grid.
Right.
And their case, quite not particularly off target, is that coal is imported to generate power,
Right.
which is also true because normally what we are doing is thermal power. Coal generated power is
Right.
what is then distributed.
Correct.
So that is the reality. So to an extent, if we want power, we should be prepared to allow coal through our land because we get that power from the same this. But the question that would be, should it not be taken safely in the first place, in a manner that there is no pollution at all? Today there are facilities which can do that. And for me now, this coal we have now found is creating huge problems.
Correct.
Both, you see, apart from this problem of this generation of coal-based power is largely responsible or to a good extent responsible for the global warming.
Correct.
It is.
And therefore, I think the government of India must seriously consider going through, fortunately we are a tropical country and we have enough sun here to light up the whole world
You're right.
and we have enough wind also.
Correct.
So instead of these coal-based plants, we need to focus on the government, demanding that they should set up solar or wind plant so that this issue doesn't arise at
Correct.
all.
Coming to-
We'll get our power and clean power also.
Coming to what you said, see, thing is, we during our reportage as well and covering these agitations have also seen and reported on actual spillage happening in front of us. When these railway tracks actually pass by, there is spillage that is happening,
Yes.
and the spillage is actually kept in one corner near the railway tracks, as you all have all seen, and we
Yes.
filmed it.
Yeah.
We've also seen coal falling off these wagons and being flung and found in faraway places as well. So that apart, a lot of people have confirmed, and there are cracks in so many houses.
Yes.
People have complained of respiratory diseases and so on and so forth. So the impact of coal pollution is absolutely manifold. There is no doubt about it. The covering of the railway wagons with tarpaulin also, we've seen we've seen torn tarpaulins, we've seen spillage. So that is an open secret. It's no longer a secret actually. So we are aware of it.
Now, Sujoy, see what happens is, unlike in the past, I clearly remember in my younger days,
Yes.
coal was transported over the railway lines and they on open wagons,
Right.
but they were coal blocks.
That's correct.
There never was coal powder.
Correct.
Now what they are importing is coal powder,
Which leads to
and
dust,
which
yes,
is
yes.
usually filled up even above the brim of the
Correct.
wagon.
Low quality coal.
Yes,
Coal.
and that powder blows with the wind.
That's right.
And that is what. See, even right up to my house, I'm almost half a kilometer away. One can see, man,
That's
a
correct.
film of
That's
it.
correct.
So
the other aspect which Radharao was mentioned, I'd like to respond to that, is that, see, the thing is, now this coal is coming from down under. If it has to reach Karnataka, there are so many studies that have shown that you need not get into a Goa port to do it. The point is the coal can be transported straight to a port in Karnataka and sent to steel plants there. Now this is one aspect that needs to be kind of gone through over and over again, because what is happening is that Goa, far from being a beneficiary, is actually a victim. It has basically become only a ground for transportation of this coal and not a direct beneficiary. Of course, it's going to plants there and
Karnataka.
things. But the point here is that does it have to be taken through Goa? The second point is that the issue is that there are other routes through which it can be taken, where you don't move through such high density population and vulnerable population. So that's something that has never been talked taken into
Sujoy,
account.
See, in fact, if I
See,
could just
no, not even. See what happens.
Yeah.
The coal comes from Australia.
Right,
Now, if you look geographically,
right,
Australia is in the Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean as they call it.
correct.
So it would be much easier to transport the coal from Australia
Correct.
through the Bay of Bengal into India's east coast.
Correct.
And then transport it, because west coast,
Correct.
you are going round Sri Lanka,
Correct.
crossing Kerala, Mangalore and coming to Goa.
Correct.
At least possibly about 1,000 kilometers more.
That's correct.
You have to travel.
And you are moving
So-
up after Karnataka. You are moving
Yes,
up,
exactly.
And then you are taking it
so
by train.
if
now.
you take on from the Bay of Bengal to Australia,
Correct.
you are on the direct route.
The Krishnapatnam port,
Yes.
they already have a facility for coal handling and transportation.
Paradip or
That could have
Visakhapatnam
been
or
used,
even
yeah,
Madras.
In
That
fact,
would be easier.
in fact, the Supreme Court has
Supreme
clearly
Court
said use
yeah.
the Krishnapatnam port in Andhra Pradesh,
Right.
where you can easily, there is an existing line which comes to Bellary, that side.
Correct.
Use that line.
Correct.
And that line also is underutilized.
Correct.
See, coal, the entire country, coal is the worst form of pollution, and as Dr. said, the contributor to global warming.
Right.
Most of the countries have shut down coal. And in fact, India also now latest in COP27 has signatory has said that by 2070 they will eliminate coal. But here, if you see, full swing infrastructure has been built to destroy everything, whatever is possible. So now the government here has to understand, when it is not benefiting to the state, there is no, we have no steel plants and hardly we consume minimum coal in Goa. Why use Goa? Use the other state or use the other ports.
Right.
Don't use Goa and destroy, because Goa geographically is very small and is an eco-sensitive place.
Correct.
So don't destroy our beaches for coal. Now you have diluted so many other laws. You have taken 6 rivers. You have diluted CRZ from 50 meters. You have made this port an autonomy, where almost now 56 kilometers belong to the port. 40 meters of the high tide line to the land belongs to the port. 5 nautical miles belong to the port. So what is going to happen to tourism and other allied activities?
Correct.
So government has to think about this seriously and
Okay.
step back.
Now, we have about 10 minutes more into this discussion. I'd like to get into another aspect of the whole situation, where the focus is not so much on the Southwest Railways, but let's look a little internally and closer home. See, what has happened, and I'll start with you, Felix, is that at the end of the day, everybody feels that the government in Goa, irrespective of which government, but the government that rules in Goa, we'll look at the ruling government at this point of time, it could have been anybody for that matter. The point is that if a strong government puts his foot down and decides to be a complete protector, then a lot of these issues are solved at the first stage itself.
Right.
Okay. Now, of course, promises were made, some promises were broken, some promises were kept or not, we do not know. But the fact remains is that the people feel that the state has not been an ally in this situation. But how do you account for the fact that most of the MLAs in that particular belt, right across, starting from Margao right up to say Vasco, every MLA at this point of time is sitting on the ruling side and not on the opposition side. So please explain to the viewers the irony of this whole situation, because at the end of the day, what about public representatives who are staying in your village, staying in your vicinity, who sit with you, who have agitated with you, who are a part of your system? The point here is that what do you have to say to MLAs who either win or manage to jump?
It's only greed.
Yeah, just take us through. I mean,
Yeah.
people need to know why this is happening, because at the end of the day, people are also voting for MLAs who are ultimately not supporting the cause.
The problem is
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
system is like that.
Yes.
When people are greedy, they will vote for that particular person who's grazing their palms or anything.
Correct.
But the other elected from opposition side, they also jump into the ruling dispensation.
So we are looking at Nuve, we are looking at Kortali, we are looking at Vasco, Mormugao. I mean, so many constituencies.
Sujoy, the
Yes, sir.
issue is not the MLA is jumping.
Yes.
The issue is the irresponsible voter, as far as I am concerned.
Yes, yes.
See what happens now. As Goans, Goa was a completely distinct identity apart from the rest of India.
Right.
We have developed separately.
Right.
Our colonial masters were the Portuguese, and the influence, Western influence on our state is much higher than anywhere else.
That's correct. Yes.
We are a much higher educated state than others, but our voters have behaved irresponsibly. You see, you look at every state where there is a local party in power, the state's interests are protected. It is with this reason in my mind that I never joined a national party. All my life I have been fighting for local causes on a local party. Now I realize that it is no longer feasible for me,
Right.
because people don't listen.
Right.
But if we had a regional party in power, we will not be obliged to some high command. I remember every time, see, forget BJP, they are there now for last 7, 8, 10 years. All the time it was Congress, the issue was high command.
Right.
High command says this, therefore we do this.
Right.
The BJP does the same thing. So as long as we are obliged to a high command, our MLAs will at least not listen, they'll blame the high command. Our high command should have been here. If Goa has a very strong regional party, all our interests can be protected without any diktat from the center.
No,
so long as we don't do that,
but-
we are bound to suffer this
But
way.
Radha, what baffles me and many others is that why don't these issues become election issues? Why don't people vote on the basis of these issues which are plaguing them day in and day out?
No,
when
I
it comes
think
to
as
voting?
far as I can see from my own personal experience,
Yes.
the voters, see, I would think that around a third or perhaps less of the voter votes on merit.
Right.
The rest of the voter, maybe 2/3 to 30% to 70%.
Right.
Voter is a commodity up for sale when elections come.
Right.
And these 70% decide our fate.
Right.
See, the 30% who are people who think and who vote on merit are outvoted
Right.
by the commodities.
Correct.
And as long as our voters continue to be a commodity, this will happen.
Yeah, Olenci,
sale.
I'll come to you, Ashok. See, Olenci, as Radhara was saying, see, you've been fighting for fishermen's rights amongst many things for a long time. Now, come election, what percentage of voters actually fight on issues concerning fishermen? How many people would decide to vote on the basis of LED lights and victimization of Raponkars?
Yeah, see, the irony of this is what the entire system, I think, if you see in the past, Goa had initially good leader, Purushottam Kakodkar, Jack Sikera. Subsequent to that, there has been failure. In a sense, we have progressed so much, but we have elected uneducated person, smuggler, rapist.
But
etc.,
who's to
etc.
blame for it?
No, what has happened is here, we now see, if you see last year, almost 2,800 people have done Portuguese passport and gone.
Right.
We have lost hope here. And people here now are so easily manipulated. Like when election comes, as you said, nobody goes on merit. Like Dr. also said, no one goes on merit. I say, if even Mahatma Gandhi contest election today, he'll lose if he does not give money. But the situation has become like that. I think the system, the education system, our parenting also has become wrong. Because what we say, politics, voting.
Right.
If that perception which is there,
Right.
that politicians are corrupt, need to end first. Then only politics will change. Then only we'll able to elect good people. So I remember even when I was teaching a student, a very young class, how many wants to become politician? The entire class step back. You know, no. So much awareness is created among even parents to the children that politics is something dirty.
Right.
Therefore, dirty people only are there.
Right.
So unless and until this conception only goes in, this perception goes out, and educated, visionary people enter the system, then only the system will change. I think this will take a lot of time. It's not easy. And unless people realize this,
Right.
because I can see today people go abroad,
Right.
and no one wants to come back
Right. Absolutely.
after that.
Correct.
But that same person, when he comes to Goa, he'll be lethargic on rules.
Correct.
When he goes there, he'll follow all the rules. So somewhere or another, the entire system need an overhaul, and I think that's a matter of time. When the entire system, when good people are elected, when people realize that election is just not on those days making maximum money, because today voter want money. Even an educated person say, "Patrao kaya na re." This is the attitude. So this attitude has to go back, and then only we'll see good leaders elected.
Ashok, your final words.
I will say that, like our example, our MLA today,
Right.
Kotal Anton was,
Right.
when the topic came up in the assembly, he walked off along with Kurtori MLA.
Right.
And then after, for some hesitation, something, he came on side. He said, I'm here with you. And then, for example, in Velsao, that is near Aggie's house, they change the line that is supposed to use it for parking. He said, see, I've changed this from east, it is gone to west.
Right.
This all he is bluffing. He is not for us. But when the time comes, he says, when he wants votes and things, he says, I'm with you all. He's clearly showing that he is for his personal gains.
Okay, we've unfortunately run out of time. If there are any last words wanting to be offered by any of you all, you're welcome. Otherwise, I'll sum it up.
all that I will say that Mole is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Right.
And I don't think the government has to destroy at this hour of time plan even another line, because this is an 8 ecological hotspot in the world.
Right.
And I think the top priority of a government should be protecting the environment.
Right.
And just because of one person's profit, which has created so much scam and destruction in the world, I don't think government should even support such kind of people, because in the past also there were a lot of big politicians, big industries were exposed, but the government never supported them in such a way. Today the government is supporting, and I feel today the entire development of Goa which is taking place in coastal areas like roads, railways, etc., is just for one person's private profit, where the entire state of Goa has been sold for this person. And the sad part is our elected representatives are silent spectators to it. They are living close to the port, their own children are suffering from because of coal pollution, yet they are sitting silently, which is an irony. And I think somewhere or another we have compromised completely, not realizing the fact that we itself are going to die in this pollution.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time and we'd like to end this discussion here, but before we do, a couple of thoughts and takeaways. Most important of this being is that in this entire situation which has brought the people in conflict with government, with people with conflict with authority, what we have seen here is a lack of absolute sensitivity and humaneness when they see that people's lives and liberties are getting completely violated from time to time, right from the year 2020 through the period of COVID. We have essentially seen that people's objections have been quashed, their lands have been acquired, their agitations have been quashed, their protests have been met with criminal cases, and this has basically been the milieu in which these agitations have taken place. The Southwestern Railways and the RVNL, they are only symptoms of the whole problem according to the people. The idea is that we need a system where the common man has greater power and greater freedom than the more powerful person or entity. It is not really a battle between the RVNL and the people of Goa. It's a battle essentially between the strength of the state and the will of the people. And this is a conflict that should never happen, because what people are still saying, even in this debate and otherwise as well, that they want the people that they have voted to be on their side. This is what is coming out from every village and every home, that you be with us, look at what we are saying and take a decision for the benefit of the people. Look at the other way. Even if you need to transport coal for commercial reasons, for getting electricity, is there a way out? Is there another route? Is there a different manner in which it can be done? The idea is not really looking at this in black and white, but looking at this from the prism of what is best for the people. Can it be done without harming so many interests and affecting so many lives? The answer, as Bob Dylan and RADHARAO GRACIAS both said, lies in the wind. And we hope the winds will blow in the favor of the people as the days go by. In any case, what is not lacking as far as the people of Goa is concerned is the will to do what is right. I thank all our panelists for a very riveting discussion which has thrown light on so many other issues. Thank you very much.